Welcome to squatch-D, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatchdtv for today's date, June 15th, 2025. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls, along with my co-host right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. Happy Father's Day, Chris.
Happy Father's Day to you, Steve. It's good to see you. Good to be here. And happy Father's Day to Richard.
Appreciate it.
Oh, man.
And the bird is going. I don't know if you can hear that.
Without the bird. Which one is it? The
dove? I
dove?
believe that's the cardinal. 9 o'clock is the cardinal.
Okay. I like the dove. The dove is kind of peaceful. They're real nice. But
never mind.
What a day. What a day I had. I've had a fun time today.
Yes, you have.
I have had a lot of fun playing with the missus and the youngest son, because they totally spaced and did not realize. I'm not going to say they forgot. I'm just going to say they did not realize it was Father's Day. So the missus wanted to go to the Lowe's or something and pick up mulch, because she's like redoing the flower bed out front. She needs fresh mulch. And I said, well, why don't we just do that tomorrow? I said, it's raining outside, No, I want to do it today. We got to go get it today. I was like, well, oh, okay. So, I'm hooking up the trailer in the rain. And, but finally this evening, I couldn't hold back. It was funny. I couldn't hold back anymore. And I said, hey, let's go look at this live stream over here, because we watch Polar Bear Ed some nights. And I love Ed. He's got a great channel. And his title of his show was Happy Father's Day.
Oops.
But I do want to thank my oldest son, Robbie, and one of my twin boys, Jared. They did message me and say Happy Father's Day. I appreciate you guys for thinking about me. Thank you. But you did a lot better than Sandy and Andy.
Starting trouble, are you?
It's funny. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. This does not affect me whatsoever. I'm every day is Father's Day as far as I'm concerned.
Every day is Christmas.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's not.
Everybody should live like every day is Christmas, though.
That means nobody would work.
Well, that's good.
I agree.
Oh, man.
Yeah, tell that to the people who put out the bills. Tell that to the utility company.
That's true. But,
unless, of course, it's a paid holiday.
Yeah.
And we can get away with that.
That would be nice.
Well, anyway.
Get paid, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Anyway, tonight we're joined by our guest tonight, Richard Farabee, who's a researcher, podcast host, a former Navy veteran. Thank you for your service, sir.
Appreciate it.
Based in Florida. And he co-hosts a relatively new podcast called Sasquatch Unredacted, called the Sasquatch Unredacted Podcast. And he shares his field work and his insights on YouTube at the Bigfoot Florida guy. And as we can see right here, he is in chat.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
So it's great to have you on. We've been chit-chatting on the phone over the last few weeks, getting insights and stuff like that. It's really fun. Wanted to have you on. I'm going to be on Sasquatch Unredacted podcast on Friday, I think. I don't know if we're doing it live or not, but
yes, it'll be live. It'll be
beautiful.
Friday at 7 o'clock.
I love being put in the hot seat, by the way. I love the tough questions. I love those. I love the challenges. You know,
I brought that up to you earlier. We had a show on Friday night, and the chat room really popped off on a couple of topics. And I'm more geared towards the guest. We brought him on. We need to hear what the guest has to say. But I'm seeing this conversation going on in the chat room. So I stopped the show real quick and I said, hey, let me address this real quick. And I told everybody, I said, look, fabulous interaction there. Hold it till next Friday. Wait till Steve comes on the show, because those are the things that I would like to see him address. So I'm looking for an exciting show, because I'm a real big fan of y'all's show. Really big fan.
Why, thank you.
Well, thanks, sir.
The fun thing is, and we'll get into it obviously Friday, but there are so many misnomers about everything.
Yeah.
And it drives me insane sometimes. Even on the right side, somebody will argue a point, even though I agree with their point of view. What they're putting out there is not correct. So sometimes you have to correct people on the stuff they're putting out there. I mean, total misinformation, like this person is related to this person in this manner. No, that's not true. This is how they're related to that person. And it's not that they're this, but they're this. And you know, I do not like, even though it weakens that particular point of the argument, I never want to try to get an argument won on phony facts, because then you fail, then you embolden as an interrogator. You know, you'll watch, how should I say this? And we're going to do our roll call in a second, just let some more people fly into the chat. But as an interrogator and interviewer, it's so important not to convey something that's wrong to the person you're interviewing, because then they will disbelieve you on everything else, stuff that they're unsure of. And I watch a lot of police interrogation videos now, and I go, oh, they're blowing it. They're blowing it. They're blowing it. They get too confrontational, and the person lawyers up. Right. And they had them. They were pushing them. And by their body language, you can tell. And you can tell that a lot of these detectives do not have the interrogation training schools that I've had. Because when somebody's sitting there weakly denying stuff, you know that, okay, they're guilty. Now you got to lean on them a little bit more. You can get it out of them. But they completely go on to this attack mode, which completely closes them up. And a good interrogator will open people up. And that's the one thing that when I talk, and I you know, people that have trained under me, I try to explain to them, when you're interviewing a witness to a Bigfoot sighting, you want to keep them open and wide open. So, and that's really important. But anyway, let's do our roll call, Chris.
Yeah.
So let's get up there. Chat is...
It's hopping, yeah.
It's hopping, yeah. First in tonight, representing the lurkers, our good friend Roy Longley. Hello, Roy. Good to see you. Grant Russia in the house. Sharon, our good friend from Belgium, in the house. Karen Fisher, good to see you.
Hey, Karen.
Bigfoot Florida guy. Who the hell is that? Oh, that's right. Walter Kroll, hello, and thank you for the happy Father's Day wishes today, sir.
Hey, Walter.
I'm back at you.
Thanks,
Pat Collins, what's going on, Pat? Grasshopper, how you doing?
Grasshopper.
Sandra Piper is in the house. Mitch Hargrove, good to see you. Robert Denduven, what's happening? Gary Johnson Sr. Bristol, what's happening?
Bristol. Good
Boom,
to see you.
boom. The Beatron is here.
Beatron.
Mike Stetton, good to see you, sir.
Hey, Mike.
Looking forward to seeing you soon. We're getting close to, every day is closer, another day closer to Whitehall. And of course, the New York Bigfoot Conference now, that's been announced, but that's after Whitehall. So, Jen, our bouncer, well, I'm sure her office assistant, Baron, is nearby.
Oh, yeah.
What else is going on? Oh, you got Mike. I sound like the Tasmanian devil. Sassy Squatch is in the house. Good to see you, Sassy Squatch.
Welcome.
Boris Kahn. Hello, Boris.
Boris? I see Ron Meldrum. Hey, Ron.
Ron Meldrum. Hello, Ron. The Susie Monster. Good to see you, Susie Monster.
Okay. I'm lost. I'm scrolling.
I'm getting there.
I'm
I'm getting
scrolling
there.
back and forth.
Texas Jack, good to see you, Texas.
Texas. All right.
Okay, he's got a question. I'm going to put that up there because he had a question about the tackle tactician. Good to see you, tackle.
Hey,
Don Moore, hello, Don. Good to see you. John, Sasquatch Wizard, Adirondacks. Arthur Watch
John?
in the house. Hey, let's see.
Arthur.
I'm glad we waited to do. Okay, I think I'm done. I saw one more too, but I kind of lost him.
I see.
Since he hasn't watched it around, I think it was Pat Barron.
See Angel.
Yep, Patrick Barron. Yep. Pat
Angel?
Barron. Yep. Hello, good to see you. 2 Pats on the show tonight. So anywho, yep. I kind of agree with that. The guest mic is a little bit low. And I'm wicked loud compared to everybody else, but I tend to go back here.
My mic is dead. Is my volume okay on my mic?
Yeah.
You sound better than last week.
Yep. Yeah, actually, if you can go into your stream, you can go into your StreamYard settings and you can boot that volume up a little bit.
We'll bump it up a little bit.
I know that StreamYard had a reset in their settings.
Okay, what about that? Is that okay?
You're good, Chris. It's
all right. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, Texas Jack says it's okay, but it ain't great, Chris. So you might want to just jack it up like 20 more points.
Well, I really, I'm afraid of blowing everybody out.
No, you won't. Jack it up.
How do I sound now?
Oh, you're a little bit louder now. Yep.
Okay.
Chris?
Okay, testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, there you go. You're fine. Everybody's fine in my ear.
Okay.
You guys sound great to me.
Yeah, it's really weird. People are not getting the sound. Maybe they just need to turn their volume up a little bit too.
I don't know. My biggest fear is I don't want to be like blowing people's speakers up.
No, you won't really. There is a built-in process for that. You may sound loud, but anyway, the question that Texas Jack asked: good cop, bad cop routine, legit or bunk? It's legit.
Let me find it.
It starts.
There we go. Yeah.
It's legit. There is a psychological element to that you have somebody that's being really rude to you and not believing a word you say, and then you're leaning on that. But in a conventional term, I don't like the bad cop routine at all.
Steve's bad cop.
No, I'm not. I usually I'm the good cop.
No, you got to be the bad cop then. So that's the thing. Because you don't like it, that's why you need to be the bad cop.
And then Don Moore made a comment too, if you want to.
I was up there with the other one. Okay.
I think my favorite interrogation was on one of the cop shows, and the cop goes, "Did you see who threw the rock?" And the guy's got glasses 3 inches thick, and he goes, "I can't see you."
Is that the one, Steve?
Yep. Don Moore says, I guess the TP structure 5 minutes from me I found a few years ago was from a Skunk Ape, but I didn't see what built it. There were tracks, but some looked canine. Yeah. Hard to say. Again, what makes people think that Squatches build teepees? See, again, teepees were built by Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
So we see these could it be bushcrafting? Could it be something else? Could it be bushcrafting and then a Bigfoot came along, or even a canine came along to use that shelter? Because animals in the wild will use structures that are pre-built and whatever for whatever they need to. So it's really hard to say unless you actually see the creature itself making these structures.
Oh, Grant has been doing his homework, Steve. Because Grant says, he's talking to Texas Jack, but he says, you have to know how the person will respond to you. Some you can push, some you can't. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But I always look at that you push them in increments.
Yeah.
I'll give you a great example. Years ago, I did an interview on this goes back probably to the early 90s,
Right.
like one of my first, interrogations. And what this, and pardon us for the segue off of Bigfoot, but this is all kind of relevant in how interviews and interrogations.
It's related. Yep.
So at this point is what we do the interview. In the interview, we ask questions like, okay, so are you married? Or what do you do? That's a real nice car you have. You start talking and getting to know, and it's kind of breaking the bread with your subject. The next point, then you start getting into the not necessarily interrogation, but you get into the fact finding. Okay, what did you see? I want to know the ABCs of everything. Now, if you're bringing in somebody for an actual interrogation, interview/interrogation, then you have information. The reason why you're asking for their story is to draw out lies that you already know will be lies. When you're interviewing a witness, and this was the big thing, developing an interview model for the cryptid witness versus a criminal witness.
Yeah.
Is that when you start interrogating a witness, you're trying to make connections between any incongruencies that they may have said during their narratives. And again, usually by that time you have a written narrative. You may have spoken to on the phone, so you've had the first initial oral narrative. Now you're getting the nitty gritty long form narrative, and each one of these interviews you're looking for any incongruencies. And as you're marking these, you're sitting there, okay, this is what I need to follow up in my questions. But you want to give them a chance to correct that the final time without them knowing.
Yeah.
And then when they don't, that's when you go, well, can you tell me why? You said you didn't make any stops, and you left here at this time, but you said your sighting was at that time, but it only takes 5 minutes to drive there, yet it was took you a half hour that night to drive there.
Right.
You know what? And then you hear, oh, well, I forgot. I stopped at the store. Even though you may have asked them, have you stopped at the store? Now they're starting to, instead of saying now, you're starting to see them try to play. Oh, yeah, you stopped at the store. What did you buy?
Now we have to go into creative mode. Yeah.
Right. And that's when you say, what did you buy? And then you'll revisit them later on about that, and then you'll see the incongruencies there. And then you're starting to say, okay, somebody's not telling the truth here. Now, in a witness interview, you're just going to say, okay, well, thank you for your time very much. I will be in touch with, if I'm going to conduct a field investigation. That's if they lied to you, obviously. And out you go, and that's it. I'm done with it. Done. You're not wasting your time anymore. You're not Now, in a criminal investigation, getting back to this one case, what had happened is this cashier kept coming up short in her register, $20, $40 a day. And every day her lunch was covered by a particular cashier. And they were ringing you off the same till. Now, the cashier that was on the till for the most of the day, that only took the lunch, had been with the company for like 15 years. No problems, no issues. Right. So then you look at this other cashier who's relatively new. So what we did is we salted the cash register with some marked money.
Yeah.
Right? We photocopied all the $20 bills in the register that day before she went on her lunch.
Yeah.
Cashier goes to lunch. Hour later, she comes back. They dismiss the fill-in cashier. She goes back to her other duties. We immediately audit the drawer without even a transaction on that drawer. And lo and behold, it's $40 short.
Ah.
So the cashier that filled in for her took her lunch afterwards and went to our snack bar.
Okay. Yeah.
And she used one of the $20 bills. That was...
Well...
So we had her, right?
Yeah,
So we have the evidence. So we start the interview, and you get to know this person, and you get to talk to them, and you're understanding that. And it's what I call a gradual build up. And once you start building that rapport,
yeah,
I say, well, we've been conducting these investigations on the shortages on this register. And the first thing she said, well, it wasn't me. That was pretty defensive because I didn't ask you. See, that's a flag. That's what we call a flag because he's automatically
wasn't me.
Wasn't me. No. And of course, no, I didn't say that. And that's the truth. I didn't say it was her yet.
Yeah.
So then you continue on with this narrative, and you say, well, these are some of the things I've seen, blah, 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 blah. And you're filling them. Now, there's reasons why people do these things, and it's A, B, C, D, E, F. You're giving them outs, bills, and behind the rent or mortgage or medical bills, or you need diapers or whatever you can think of coming out of your mouth, which is really why a background investigation of the person you're going to interview is, that's right, Mick. Is so important. But then you turn around and then you start, hitting up with the alternative questions, and she was very weakly denying it. And one of the biggest things you can always see is when somebody does not have anger at being, if somebody is accused of something, what's your first reaction if you're innocent is anger. It's anger. And you didn't see that. And when you interview these people and you accuse them of things, and you watch any of the police interviews, you can see it. They're accusing somebody of a homicide, and they're, no, it wasn't me. I'd be friggin' furious, right? If I didn't do it, I'd be furious. So that was the kind of reaction I was getting, a very weak and mild reaction. And eventually, we start pressing her a little bit more and more and more, and I ended up showing her, well, this is the $20 bill as you can see, this is all the $20 bills that went register when you came online. And coincidentally, I have the $20 bill right here that you spent at our snack bar. Can you show me where that $20 bill is on that chart? And with that, she folded.
Oh, yeah,
so sometimes, sometimes it does take hitting them between the eyes to show them some evidence to get them to fold.
Yeah. Tackle tacticians in 40 plus years in retail management saw so much theft and became easy to spot. Eyes lie. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's something to look for. Okay, let's get back off of the interrogation and ask Richard what's going on in Florida.
So Richard, what's going on in Florida?
It's hot. It's damn hot.
Yeah.
We're just now getting into the rainy season, so now we're getting our everyday thunderstorms that roll through. I noticed it. I went out this weekend, and it's been really, really, really dry. And some of the open trails that I go down and stuff are already starting to flood. So there'll be areas I just absolutely will not be able to go into because it'll just be too wet.
Yeah, you have that unique thing, and we've had Matt on as well, formerly from Florida.
Matt Larson?
Yes.
Yep, Central Florida Bigfoot. He's up in Kentucky now, I think.
Yes, he's a hillbilly now.
Yeah.
We got another one.
He's Chris's neighbor now. But in Florida, it's got to be really difficult because there's so many things there that want to eat you or kill you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, people think about Australia and how dangerous it is, and Florida's the same way. I mean, we've got so many things that want to do you harm. And from the smallest spider, I mean, we have 5 species of black widow. We have multiple species of rattlesnake and water moccasins, and then you get up to of course you got Florida panthers, bears, stuff like that. But I think the biggest threat in the woods is probably the wild pigs. I think they're the biggest threat because a lot of people don't realize is not only will they attack you, they will kill you, and then they will eat you. The pack will come and eat you, and there will be nothing left. Right. They're extremely aggressive and very, very strong. So that's my biggest fear is coming across, a group of hogs and stuff. So I do.
Do you guys have
carry
any crocodilators down there?
We have crocodiles and alligators. We got them both. You know what I mean? And wonderful. It's like It's like that old. You'll see it posted sometimes on Facebook and stuff like that, where people say, "Okay, let me explain Florida. If you taste the water and it's salty, there's sharks. If it's not salty, there's alligators." So.
Oh,
But are alligators really that aggressive necessarily?
Well, they can be for the most part. Let's say 95% or better. They're not. They run from you, dive in the water, go away, and stuff like that. But you do come across that one that he's the alpha. He's not going to back down. He's hungry. He sees you as food, especially if people feed them. They become domesticated very easily. And there was times I've been fishing, and this one alligator followed me for at least 2 miles down this canal as I fished, because he was used to people. And those are the ones that you want to, I wouldn't say eradicate. I'm big on, taking them someplace else where they cannot find civilization. But that doesn't seem to be the norm. It's usually when they find something, let's dispatch it right away. The Everglades is so massive. It's millions upon millions of square acres of just nothing. Take it out in the middle of that, drop it off, and you'll never have a problem with that alligator again, or bear, or whatever. Yeah. But they don't seem to do that. They trap them, dispatch them, and then move on. And I'm not a big fan of that. So,
what I think the bigger threat in Florida, because I've been to Florida doing some research. Actually, I've been in more of the Panhandle part of the state, not necessarily the rainforest of the Everglades. But one of the things that you worry about is not so much if you see a gator, chances are you're safe because they don't want nothing to do with you. But it's the gator that you don't see that may be hiding in the foliage or underneath a tree stump or something like that, that you walk right close by and you startle it.
Yeah.
And that's the worry I have.
and they travel. A lot of people don't realize that. You could be in the forest and come across an alligator and there's not a water source a mile away. They will travel. They will move. You know what I mean?
No.
But we have them in our ditches. When they fill it full of water, there'll be smaller, 3 foot or less alligators swimming in the ditches. They're everywhere. I don't know what the population is, but it's over a million.
I'll never forget. I took a tour of Cape Canaveral, or AKA Cape Kennedy.
It's an awesome place.
Yes. And they have a bus tour. So you all pile into the bus. And there's a part where the bus stops. And all of a sudden, the driver gets on the microphone and says, everybody, when we get off the bus, please avoid that deep culvert just to the right of us. If you look down there, because you can see him now, there is a 12-foot alligator basking in the sun down there. Do not bother him. Just walk out and walk away from the ditch.
Well, one of the popular things here was, especially back when I was a child, in the 70s, Hillsborough River State Park, which is a beautiful park in the Tampa area. They used to sell marshmallows that you can go to the catwalks and throw them in and feed the alligators. Big mistake. I think they learned after time that was not a very wise idea.
I know the alligators' dental bills went through the roof with all the cavities those marshmallows caused, right?
Yeah.
I think the people that need to worry the most are people walking their dogs.
Yes.
I think they're the ones that have to worry the most because they will come after your animal because it's small enough. To them, it's easy prey. They're not focused on you. They're focused on that pet.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, when people feed these gators, a lot of times, what are they feeding them? Rodents and little stuff like that.
You're bringing me a Yorkie.
They're bringing me a Yorkie. They're bringing me a Chihuahua. They're bringing
Oh man.
Yep.
But,
now, how about the python population? Ever run into any of those down there? Or?
Well, I think the misconception with the python is one the not, which is not a misconception, is they are a problem. They are rapidly growing and rapidly producing, but they're way south. You're not going to run into them in Tampa or Orlando or stuff. They're really far south in the Everglades. Occasionally they'll pop up in, let's say, and they're closer in the environments like Broward County, like Miami or something like that, or maybe work their way up to, other residential areas. But it's really the Everglades itself, further south. And to give people an idea of how devastating they are, I got friends that go down there, they hunt and stuff like that. And you can ride down there. It's a lot of roads out there, a lot of roads, gravel, just, those white gravel roads. And they used to say, man, you can see animals, 50, 60 animals a mile, raccoons and squirrels and this and that. You go out there now, you can spend 8 hours in the Everglades and not see one animal, not a bird, nothing. They are just devastating the entire ecosystem. And that's why they have these state-sponsored hunts, for the python. And it pays big money. It pays big money.
Yeah, I heard that. Yep.
And there's guys making a complete living out of doing nothing but going out there every day killing these things, especially if you get a female and she's pregnant with eggs. That's worth even more money. They're absolutely devastating the Everglades really bad.
I'm gonna have to check into this. That was one of my favorite pastimes. I'm a world champion snake dispatcher.
Hey, well, and what I understand is they
ain't small like they make rattlesnakes look tiny, Chris.
Okay, yeah. I know these will be a challenge. But
they're getting 17-footers out of there. You know what I mean? And that's a big snake. Yeah. But you have to, what I understand, and I'm no expert and I'm not going down there to look for these things, but they have to be caught alive. You can't dispatch them and then turn them in. You catch them alive.
That's a deal breaker.
And then what they do is they put them in bags and stuff like that, and they throw them in deep freezers, these big giant freezers with a big door you open up, and they just toss the bag in there. Well, of course, that's going to kill them. The next morning you go out there, they've died because they can't withstand the cold, and then that's when they'll bring them out, thaw them out, skin them. They are using the snakes. They're selling the meat. They're using the skins for boots or whatever. You can, if you're a company that needs that stuff, you can contact those people and say, hey, I want you to supply me with as much python skins as you can. So there's a lot of money, and not just what the state pays you for killing it, but you can make an income on the snakes themselves.
Right. So. Well, that's something. Catching them alive, I no. That would be the deal breaker.
So, as a Florida Bigfoot researcher, or Skunk Ape researcher, whatever you want to call them,
Bigfoot.
Yep. How do you think they deal with the gators and all these other things that are super aggressive, or that can kill you? I know a lot of these animals, you really have to bother them for them to kill you because of your size. You're big. I mean, as it is, even as a Homo sapien, they kind of avoid us because we're much larger prey than they're used to dealing with, so they tend to avoid us.
Well, I have to put it in perspective where even down here, we have a lot of cattle. A lot of people don't realize how much cattle in the state of Florida. We actually have more cattle per capita than Texas. And we have these cows go into these streams. They go into these waterways to get water and stuff like that. Alligators are not attacking them. I mean, I'm sure they get bit on occasion, but they're not a food source because they're too large. And the alligator is intimidated and will back away and go off. And I think it would be the same way if a Bigfoot came down to get a drink. Not saying that accidents don't happen. He walks up on a 12-footer and it's aggressive. I'm sure the battle's on. But I think there's probably predator to predator style mutual respect going on. But I'm pretty sure a Florida Bigfoot would not hesitate to take a small gator and make a meal of it. You know what I mean? So.
Or a python for that matter.
Well, we'll know if we catch a Florida skunk ape and he's got some gator skin boots or something.
Oh man,
Chris, looks like you were winding up for a question.
Well, I was just checking out the chat here, man. I wanted to.
Yeah, the chat rooms are great. You guys have a great chat room as well. Ours is pretty solid, and you guys are Once you get that solid base of really just good people, the positive the positive energy in the chat room is just amazing and stuff. You don't have those people creating problems or animosity and stuff like that. I delete them quick because I don't want them to have an audience.
Right.
So, but if you're positive and focused, it's okay to be skeptical. It really is.
Yep.
One of the things that I say on the podcast or even on my YouTube channel is skepticism is a good thing. Everybody should have some of it. And so I have some skepticism when I'm looking at evidence, especially other people's evidence and stuff like that. But skepticism creates questions, and question creates answers. And that's what we're looking for is answers.
And we have and the other thing too is our chat room is probably about 70% comedians.
Well, we have, I am a little bit sensitive about our viewers because I feel like we have the greatest audience that we have, that we could ever have, and we appreciate it. But Mick says alligators may just explain the three-toed Sasquatch prints found down south.
I agree.
And I was wondering, have you located or seen or heard anybody talking about the three-toed prints, Richard, in Florida?
Yes. I think the most famous person in the Bigfoot world down here, if you want to say famous, is Dave Shealy. He's got some castings of three-toed prints that he claims to be of a skunk ape. I've looked at those and other people's. I think it's misidentified. I think it's gator prints, large gator, some of them pretty large, or it's something else.
I'll tell you, when I was in the swamps of Louisiana, and I want to plop this into your head real quick as a Florida researcher. There was a great blue heron walking along one of the sand barges, and it took off. And it made beautiful three-toed tracks.
Absolutely.
That could definitely be full. And then people would say, oh, and they just disappeared. Yeah. Which is a big reason why I do not believe in those tracks that just, especially if they're in snow. There has been a report in New York where somebody said, oh, well, there was these tracks in the snow, and they went and they just kept going, and then all of a sudden they stopped. Well, that was probably a bird hopping, and then it flew off, and then, of course, you get the sun beating down. It widens them out, makes them look like a bipedal or a human-like track or a Bigfoot-like track.
Well, I'll say this now, and then all of a sudden the evidence will change because I said this. But one of the things I notice on, especially the three-toed prints, is they always say, oh, wow, you can see the claw marks. Well, that's not a good thing. That's a giveaway that it's probably an alligator or crocodile or something like that.
Or a bird,
Because as Bigfoot is bipedal and is walking a lot, he's not going to have long toenails. That goes away with walking. You wear them down. It's like walking your dog. If you walk your dog on a regular basis, you never have to trim his toenails.
Especially on blacktop.
Yeah, absolutely. But if he's a dog that's kept mostly indoors, but you just let him out to poop and then come back in, they grow long nails. You have to trim them back and stuff like that. But if you're in use all the time, you're going to lose those things. Alligators don't lose those. They have those claws, or fingernails, whatever you want to call them. So that's why I think a lot of the three-toe ones are. I'm open. There could be a three-toed Sasquatch out there, but I'm leaning more towards it being misidentified or being an alligator or something. So
I'm sure there's been a time or two where like the last two digits didn't necessarily transfer an imprint or something like that, and people say, oh, they're three-toed, but actually they're five-toed. Just the last two digits didn't connect, or maybe one of the five or two of the five, because there's been reports of four-toed tracks too. People don't ever mention, but what it is a digit fails to, or perhaps there's an amputation of a toe or two. That's all possible. And I think between all of those explanations, I think that can explain why there's three-toed tracks.
I can grasp on to four digits more than I can three, because of for two things. One would be an injury and loss of a digit.
Yes.
Or two, some kind of just a physical deformality. One of my theories is with Sasquatch is the fact that even here in Florida, the areas that I go to they're pretty much closed off by either farmland or suburban areas. I mean, I'll go to an area that's 90,000 acres, and that's huge. But on the outskirts, it's farmland and everything. So really, they would be compressed into that 90,000 acres. Now, if we look at how long they've been here, and let's just make up a number because I think they've been here for thousands of years, but let's say they've been here for 200 years, as just an easy number to work with. There would have to be some level of inbreeding to maintain a population. You know what I mean? There's no capability of traveling to another location without being seen or out being caught or something like that. And this creature's trying to be elusive. So I think there's a level, maybe, I don't know how big. So that might cause some deformalities. That also may cause why some facially look different than other ones.
I have a real good argument against that.
I'm ready to hear it. That's what we're here about.
So the reason why males free range, if you notice in the chimpanzee community and in the gorilla community, even though the gorillas, especially like the mountain gorillas, they're really a small population, but they're concentrated in a small area. They have very little inbreeding. And it's the reason why when males hit their adolescence, they wander off. Mm-hmm. They wander off. And they will find a group that's completely, for whatever reason, it may be built into their instinctual level. They will find a group that is completely unrelated to them.
Yeah, I to add on to that, and part of my theory is the fact that and like apes, because that's really the closest thing we have to study if you want to learn behavior and stuff like that, is like you said, once a gorilla, or we can say / Bigfoot gets to, a teenage, it's getting into puberty, it's getting into that level where it now wants to mate or whatever. It only has a couple choices. It's either, because the dominant male owns all the women, it's his tribe, it's his group and stuff like that. So he's either got a challenge for that leadership role, and then he gets the women, or he just submits and stays with the tribe but knows that they're off limits, or he needs to leave and create his own harem of whatever. And that's when they run into, I think that is where the rogue Bigfoot comes from.
We have to be careful because not every species of primate is patriarchal.
Right. The
bonobos are actually matriarchal, where the females are the dominant ones. I didn't know if you knew that. And not all of them necessarily have more than, like orangutans. If you look at orangutans, they're generally very solitary. So they may have the male may have multiple different partners, but there is no like harem type of relationship with them. I think, and we got to be careful using the word harem based on anthropocentrism, or anthropomorphization. We don't want to, attribute a human-like quality to them. But just to show you the similarities with primates, I love showing similarities with primates. Is the even Homo sapiens? What do we do when we hit 18? We move out. We move away from the family. We find our own. So we have our own way of roaming too. Mm-hmm. Of course, then we have, I'm going to make a joke here. We have a person like Todd Standing who lives in his mother's basement. That doesn't ever. Yeah, just kidding.
Well,
are you?
A little bit.
I think nature takes care.
I have nothing. I do not have anything personal against Todd Standing, except he's a hoaxer, and that's.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
I think nature takes care of a lot of the breeding problems. because
Right.
you don't talk about there's
and we talk about, you know, missing digits because of inbreeding. It actually, even that's a bit of a rarity. The most
Oh, yeah.
the most common deformity, or actually the most common problem with inbreeding, is brain development. And if there was a lot of inbreeding, we would probably come across a couple of them that, you know, have some form of developmental disability, or, you know, or even worse, back deformities and other, structural deformities aside from missing. Because usually you got to understand that if they have a toe missing or two toes missing because of a inbreeding situation, there's a lot more going on with that creature.
Yeah.
They probably have just more than the toe deformity. They probably have spina bifida. They probably have some Downs syndrome going on.
Maybe that falls in line with Christopher Noel's theory of the autistic characteristics. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm very careful about Chris Noel. Not my favorite guy. Tell you.
Well, no, I'm not
truth.
saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
he brought up that topic. You know what I mean? And that there's some characteristics there that show a comparison.
Yeah, but is there autism in chimpanzees?
I don't believe there was.
There you go. Is there autism in gorillas?
I wouldn't assume it.
No. See, the problem is that you're looking at another anthropomorphization, because he believes that Bigfoot is just another form of Homo sapien.
Right.
And that's why you have that autism. So at the very base, that theory is flawed based on, well, Bigfoot's just another form of Homo sapien. No, it's not. Look at their foot structure. That means their DNA would be different because of their foot structure.
Oh yeah,
So,
I
always keep that in mind. Yeah.
I absolutely think that when a real good DNA study does take place, I think they're going to find that it is completely different.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and now the T word has affected my chat room, which is okay. Look, they can all they know they know my stance on the T word.
We got one here from Tackle Tactician, and he wants to know: are there more Bigfoot sightings in southern Florida, mid Florida, or North Florida?
The way I can answer that is absolutely go to the Bigfoot Mapping Project and pull up the map. Florida is overloaded with sightings. I mean, it's a lot. So I think it's pretty much evenly dispersed between South Florida up to North Florida. Like where Steve said when he was up at the Panhandle, that's a very good hot spot. You get down more Central Florida to Ocala, the Green Swamp area, hot spot. Then you go down to South Florida, get into the Everglades, another hot spot. So Florida's got 17 million square is it square miles or acre? I don't know. It's a huge forest. You can go from South Florida to North Florida and never be seen. We have a thing called the Florida Trail that actually runs from the Everglades all the way up to the Appalachian Mountains, and you can hike that whole thing and never be seen. So I think it's evenly dispersed. Of course, some places are probably a little bit more depending on seasonal and stuff like that. There's a location on the East Coast that I go to, and it's reported. I haven't proven it, or I haven't got the proof yet, but it was reported to me that Florida wildlife gets about 5 reported sightings a month in that one area. So,
well, that's something that I'm kind of surprised about too, because I've read a lot of the sighting reports, and most of them are talking about the skunk ape. Okay, so they're located around swampy areas. But why don't we have reports from somebody seeing them on a beach? Because when you get up like northern Oregon or Washington State.
Oh, hey, hang on a second, Chris. Lori, I wasn't telling you off. I hope you don't think that. No. There was a little conversation we had in the pre-show about Todd Standing showing up in a chat room not showing up in the chat room, but his name showing up in the chat room and talking about it. So that's why I said the T word. No, you're all cool. I don't care who you're talking about, what you're talking about. Just keep off politics and religion. We're good.
Yeah, that's only two subjects.
You're good. You're good to go, Lori. I don't care what you're talking about, Todd all day.
But any
and good for you saying that he's a faker, and that is 100% true. So
yeah,
thank you, Lori.
Yeah, Chris. There are reports of times where there's been sightings on the beach, real desolate areas, but especially where we have a lot of mangrove, where Sasquatches come down to pick clams or different things off the beach to eat and stuff like that. I have seen some of those reports, and of course, like all of them, it's a brief encounter, because they see you see them, and then it runs back into wherever it goes. So.
Because, man, if I was living in the woods in, central, South Florida, wherever, if I was near the coast, you can dang sure bet I'd be out there on the beach checking out looking for some clams, some mussels, something like that, easy scores. You would think that they would do the same thing. I would think.
Yeah, I in those reports, it was, an opportunity to get a free meal and stuff like that, especially when low tide goes out and leaves these things on the beach, different things. But again, they have to be somewhere where they're near fresh water. You can't survive on salt water. So they're going to find areas where there's freshwater springs, stuff like that, And a lot of my research delves around areas where I know there's a water source. And the water source could be a half a mile away. I think for a Sasquatch to get from one point to a half a mile is probably pretty quick. So I think if they're thirsty, they can get there and get a drink or do whatever they want to do, and then go back to doing what they do.
So Richard, you actually do field research, right? You get out in the woods and in the swamp and tromp around out there, right?
Yeah, I try to go out every single weekend.
Every week. Wow.
Yeah. This year's been difficult because of work and stuff like that.
Yes.
I was working 7 days a week there for a while. One of my officers got stage 4 cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and so we were covering and doing things, and it just took a while to convince him that he's not coming back. I'm sorry, dude, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow, that you've got that to deal with, and so I was working a lot, and now I get the weekends off again, so I'm back to it. I'm getting out there and setting up cameras and doing things.
Right. Well, do you prefer to research during the day or during the night?
Well, I'm independent. I do everything by myself. So going out at night is not wise.
Right.
It mostly due to it's so dangerous out there. It's bad enough during the day, but now you're going out there at night and you can't see what's out there and what you're going to walk up on.
Yes.
So I'm big on it, especially when I'm doing one of my campouts where I'm going to be camping for 3 to 5 days. Once nightfall comes, I'll do the perimeter of my campsite, but I'm not going to go break trail by myself at nighttime. It's not a wise thing to do.
You have panthers out there too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm using the panther as an example right now because some people have contacted me and they know where I research, and there have been some panther sightings in that area. That's one of my goals, is to try to capture that as well on camera, because if I can capture that either on film or on my trail cams, I know I can catch a Sasquatch as well. I just got to get better at it and stuff like that, because we only have roughly under 200 panther in the entire state of Florida, so they're rare just as well.
Bears, you guys have bears too?
Yeah, we got a lot, about 5,000.
So I mean, you think about this, Chris. Listen to this, and this is what terrifies me about Florida. And I did night expeditions in Louisiana.
Yeah,
which is just as bad. But there are, think of this for Florida. There are bears.
Yeah.
There are panthers.
Yeah.
There are wild feral hogs.
Yeah.
There are alligators. There are pythons. There are several species of spiders that will kill you.
Yeah.
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 There's many times I'm walking and I'm filming and I'm walking. You hear me go because I got a spider web right in the face. You know what I mean? So now you're doing that dance where you're trying to see, okay, where'd that spider go? You know what I mean? I have been bit by spiders in the last few years. It was a pretty nasty bite. It was pretty bad. I had to go in. Not sure. Never saw it. But when I had to go to the hospital because I procrastinated and waited days thinking, because it starts out just like a bug bite.
Good night, Lori.
But it literally looked like somebody was taking their thumb and pushing it out of my leg.
Yep.
And, and it was on the back side of my leg, and I couldn't drive. I couldn't because it was right where my seat was, and I was leaning. Yep. So I went. They had to lance it and clean everything out, get the sack out, and do all this and pack it and all that. Put a drain line in it and all that. And that's what they said was, yeah, it was absolutely a spider. Right. So, and that's happened to me now 3 times. I would say.
Sounds like a black widow bite, actually.
It could have been. It could have been. One of the times I was actually setting up my tripod and putting in the camera, and I was in a bushy area, and the backside of my leg when that one happened was rubbing in the bushes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And something bit me, and I felt it when it happened, but it didn't. It wasn't prolonged. It didn't hurt.
And again, as a reminder to people, out there, that it probably didn't want to bite you, but whatever you did startled it, and it just automatically did it. That's what these things do.
Right.
Don't make me bite you.
If you see them, you're good. If it's the ones you don't see that you got to worry about.
Right. And that's where the snakes come in with the rattlesnakes, especially the water moccasins that we have.
Yes, you got water moccasins too. Rattlesnakes, water moccasins, pythons.
Yeah,
Chris, sounds like a night expedition for us. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I feel right at home.
But with that said, though, if I'm with other researchers, like we're coming together for for the weekend or something like that, I don't mind going out. I do go out with a pew every single time, all the time.
There's strength in numbers, obviously. Yeah.
And when you go out there, you do feel a little bit more comfortable. But you also know that if somebody does get hurt, the other people are going to get you out.
Right.
And when I'm out there, and there's been researchers that have gone out with me, I hike pretty far back. And like I said, there's no phone signal. There's no nothing. And I don't want to put myself in a really bad situation at nighttime. And it's bad enough during the day. It's bad enough. And it's always weighs on me when I'm out there. But nighttime, I try to avoid it when I'm by myself. But I do take advantage of it if I have other people go out with me. Because I do have night vision, I do have thermal, I do have those tools that I can use when I'm out there. I just don't use them quite often because most of my stuff's during the day. And 2, temperature has a lot to do with it. I like to go out. I usually eat breakfast at 6 a.m. I'm out in the woods by 7 because the temperatures are cooler. And I can stay out there from 7 to, let's say, noon. By then, it's really piping. It's time to go home. It's time to get out of there. I've drank all my water that I could carry. It's time to go. At nighttime, a lot of people don't realize in the state of Florida, thermal's great. I'm a huge thermal fan. But in Florida, thermal isn't that great during the summer. Everything holds ambient heat here. And you can turn on your thermal at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it just looks like the forest is on fire in front of you. And you're not going to see anything because everything's still holding that ambient temperature. So it's best to use thermal at, let's say 2, 3 o'clock in the morning where things have kind of cooled down. Now, of course, winter comes, our temperatures get, tolerable and moderate and stuff like that. Thermal's great. Thermal works out a lot. But there is no one tool that is the answer to everything. You have to have multiple tools for multiple situations and stuff. There is no one. A drone is not the answer. A thermal's not the answer. Night vision's not the answer. But when you put things together, using things together, I think it's a lot better. But there's not one single thing that's a tell-all, do-all. I tell people all the time, if I went out there with just one piece of equipment and that's it, it would be my phone, because I could do audio, I could do visual, I could do photos, I can do so much more with today's technology on phones. And I have a nice phone. I have the S22 Ultra, 100 times zoom. There's no blob squatch in my world. I can zoom in on something. I've got some great pictures of deer that I shot. Yeah. At 100 yards away, and you think I was petting it, and it's clear. So these people that send me these blob squatch photos, the first thing in my mind is, first of all, what kind of phone are you using?
Right.
And then I know what they're doing. They're taking the photograph, and then they're zooming in, screenshotting it, zooming it in again, screenshotting it, to the point where whatever the subject is that you want to convince anybody is so pixelated, so blurry, there's nothing there. So you're really wasting a researcher's time by sending that, because there's nothing we can do with it. Now give me the original photo. Let's look at the original photo. Then let's have a conversation, especially video. I'm a big video guy. I want to catch this thing in motion, because it answers more questions. A still, I mean, they're both not great. You're always going to have debunkers and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think film is just one step better than having a picture, because if something's in motion, you can get a lot more information out of it. You know, so that's my goal. And I tell people all the time, the one thing I have learned with Sasquatch is it's an extremely selfish creature, because he's out there doing nothing, and all I want is 10 seconds, and he won't give it to me. So
they're not very sociable.
No, you know, they need to work on that.
In this day and age, you know, why do we even have photographs of Bigfoot anymore, or blob squatches, when we can have video? You know,
right?
And that would be so much better, because with a photograph you can look at it, and even if it does look like Bigfoot, you know, you're always in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, could this be a tree stump that's burned out or something, and then it kind of looks like the shadows are making it look like Bigfoot. But if you've got it on video and it walks away from the camera, okay, well, we know that's not a tree stump.
Yeah, I've had
one of the things that I have gone to, I just want to go on the whole Zoom thing, is that I've started using the new GoPro, which shoots in 4K.
Right.
So if I get video, although I'm not able to zoom in on it, I know that in the editing process, I can always have the original copy and then be able to zoom in that and have, because it's in 4K, to have some clarity to it.
Right.
And that's what makes all the difference in the world.
It does. And you can tell the difference between those that are not zooming in for good purposes. They're zooming in to create a hoax. They're creating a blob squatch. They're trying to get their 15 seconds of fame to say, hey, look what I got. And what bothers me is I sit here and I watch all these chats on Facebook and stuff like that, and there's so many people that buy into it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's amazing. It's not. Another one that's really got me going in the last couple of, let's say, month, are these people that are filming these beams of light coming from the sky and materializing in their yard and all that. It is a spider web going across your camera. It is evident it's a spider web. But they double down on it and say, oh no, I checked the camera. Yeah, well, it's probably not going to be there by the time you check the camera. See what I'm saying? But at that time, it was a spider web going across the screen, and or going across, and it could be, that spider web could be 2 feet away from it. It's just reflecting light. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Chris, pull up Texas Jack's comment real quick.
Okay, let's see. I had one starred here. No, wait a minute, that's not on there.
I just can't. There it is.
Texas Jack says, I think about how good the Patterson-Gimlin film is, and how it still wasn't good enough. So if it isn't PG quality or better, it's okay if it has sentimental value to you, but don't expect it to sway anyone.
So let me let me run something by. Okay, we can yank that comment now. That way we can see. Let me. The PG film was not great quality.
No.
Everybody thinks, those are all the enhancements that have been done on it.
Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, when you start doing that level of enhancement on it, the bottom line, there's so many flaws in it because it wasn't a great quality film. It was shot in 16 millimeter. It was blurry. It was shaky. So there was a lot to that film that had to be manipulated and augmented before the world of AI. There was another comment about AI making it more difficult as far as photos are concerned. And that's not true at all because, like I've said in the past, we have come up with a rock solid way to determine whether or not a photo is AI generated or not.
Correct.
And that's because an AI photo is layered. They put layers on.
Yeah.
So when you put it in an error level analysis test, you can see each one of those layers.
Yeah, and there's apps now that you can submit a photo and it will automatically tell you AI or not.
Right. Yep.
You know, very easy. Very easy.
If a computer created it, a computer can recognize it.
But with me with video, I'm not trying to sway or anything like that. And he made a great point. I want a really good video to answer questions. And you have to surround yourself with people you trust that you can do a peer review with. You can do a peer review. So let's say, and I'll use you guys as an example. I finally get something that I think is pretty solid. I can send it to you guys and say, hey, I'm not going public with this. Tell me what you think. And then give me an honest opinion. And I'll send it. I have a group. I have people that we go back and forth and we share things when we peer review it. Then if they all come back, there's a majority that says, yeah, I think you got something here. Then I can start looking at it as in, do I want to make this thing public or not public? Right. But you have to have that peer review. You have to have that peer group. And as researchers, and everybody I'm going to go to as a peer review are going to be researchers. They want video. We all want to see movement and motion and joint manipulation, muscle manipulation, whatever. So,
and what people don't understand is that they've seen over the years all these BS videos come out. But when a real researcher gets a video, what are they also producing? Time and date, location, geospatial data, equipment used, time, all of that. Frame by frame extraction, peer review, any analysis done to it, and then it gets put out there. Right. Far be it from somebody with a 5-second video or a 10-second video says, oh, there's a Bigfoot, and you don't get any of those details, what they shot it on, where they shot it, who, what date was, any of that, let alone whom it was. So understand that's why we're built in to say, oh, a video ain't going to do nothing. Not true. Not true. It'll sway some people if we have all this metadata and all this other information and all the actual physical location and all that fun stuff that can be corroborated. That's going to change. That will change some ideas if we get a good video.
Yeah. The only problem is the video.
Not going to prove it.
It's not easy to get.
It's not going to prove it, but it's going to. Somebody said it.
Oh, get me a Snapple.
All right. Chris, top of the hour. You want to do our break?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
All right, we're going to take a few-minute break here. We will be back. We're here with Richard Farabee, Florida researcher and host of the Sasquatch Unredacted podcast. And we will be right back in a few minutes. We will see you all in a couple of seconds.
Late night, cameras rolling. Just the facts, that's all we need. 2 men on a mission, following the evidence. Yeah, no more tall equipment calibrated, every footprint analyzed. No room for speculation, just the data, just the signs. No more fairy tales, no more wasted time. Real investigation, that's our paradigm. Truth hunters in the night. Truth hunters in the night. Won't stop until we find. Truth hunters in the night. Truth hunters till we die. We're not here for fiction, not here for fantasy. Just pure dedication to what our eyes can see. Truth hunters in the night. Truth hunters in the night. Won't stop until we find. Truth hunters in the night. Truth hunters till we die. Truth hunters in the night. Truth hunters.
Is Bigfoot real? Or just one of the greatest mysteries of our time? Step into the world of Steve Kulls, the Squatch Detective. With over 400 pages of science-backed theory, Bigfoot, a scientific examination, is the definitive exploration of the Sasquatch phenomenon. Dig deeper with the Squatch Detective's Guide to Bigfoot Investigations, a must-read for serious researchers. Gain critical insight with the psychology of Bigfoot, the guide to understanding Bigfoot witnesses and their claims. And then what would Sasquatch do? Volume 2, uncover what Bigfoot may have in common with its ancient primate ancestors. Explore the evidence. Challenge the claims. All books available now on Amazon.
And we are back here with our guest, Richard Farabee from Florida, host of the Sasquatch Unredacted podcast. And, of course, Mr. Bennett, do you have some more stuff starred?
Well, yeah, I was clicking through some, and I actually put one up on screen earlier.
I saw that.
Let's see. Henry says, choke points, folks. Choke points. Yeah, I think he's talking about, travel corridors and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and I think that's an important aspect of research because it narrows an area that you can research in hopes that they cross in that narrow area.
Yes.
Where I research, the one specific area I'm in is 3,000 acres, but it's like a long line. It's like a mile across, but it's really long. But it butts up to a huge state park. The only thing separating them is a gravel road, basically. Really, technically, I say that, but it really goes around the road and heads all the way to 3 counties. But the area that I'm in would be considered a choke point, where from one side to the other is about a mile hike instead of hiking 10 miles or whatever. Like if I was at the state park, for example, it's so huge. You know what I mean?
It's good to have the area narrowed down where you can check for tracks. You can check this 1 mile over 1 square mile area or whatever, rather than have to look for a 50 square mile area.
And I find, and now with tracks, you can get DNA.
Yeah. Well, and I say this to everybody because everybody talks about the DNA thing, and this comes to funding. all researchers are self-funded. All the equipment, the camping gear, the gas, the food, everything I do is self-funded. Thousands upon thousands of dollars invested in this. So when you get into DNA, I don't collect DNA only for the simple fact is if I collect it, then I'm going to want to have it sent off and tested, but I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on a test to find out that I'm wrong. It's a bear or something else.
But you don't have to now. And I don't know if you know about
Darby.
Dr. Darby Orcutt, who was a guest here on our show a little over a year ago, has some funding and a program run for the University of North Carolina that they're taking, cryptid evidence, any cryptid DNA. And, you can find out more. I'm going to put that up in the chat room. And there you go, Chris. You want to throw that one up there? There it is. At DarbyOrcutt.com.
Yeah.
And he's got quite the project going on there. He is an organizational scientist. So he will give out instructions if you have a DNA sample, how to package them, how to handle them. He will accept them, and then he will put whatever specialist needs to be put on the thing, whether it be a forensic specialist or a DNA specialist, a geneticist, or anything like that. And it's done totally free. The results may take 6 months to a year to come back, but it's free.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because, you've got a lot of people that, I don't know if they're making a claim or they actually do, but they'll say, I've got a freezer full of DNA. I've got hair, I got scat, I've got this and that. Well, it does you absolutely zero good sitting in your freezer. Zero good. So
at the very least, you can take the hair and send a hair sample off to somebody that can look under a microscope if need be and make a determination whether it's something unusual or something that's known. Right. That's the first step in any hair collection is put it under a microscope. Tactical Bigfoot Research, he has one of those microscopes. I'm in the process of eventually I will be getting one. That if I find something like that, I can put it on a slide under a microscope, take a picture of it, and then send it out and say, hey, what does this look like to you? Right. Or I can take that picture and compare it to other slides of known animals to see if we can eliminate that. If we can't eliminate it or it looks primate in nature, then we can send that off. And that way we're not wasting the scientist's time. And at the same time, we're being diligent in what we do.
Oh, yeah. If you have access to somebody that can do the DNA, but also somebody has access to that database where they can do a comparison, you know what I mean? Because as an independent myself to sit down and do that, and now the time spent just to do the comparison to different hairs, it's time. A lot of people don't realize research is time. Audio is time consuming. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of work. It's not
once you start analyzing your own hair samples, you're also you've got to gain the expertise in order to be able to identify it too. So it's a lot of education involved too.
But there are ways to streamline things now.
Yeah.
And here at squatchdetective.com, we've been working on that. For example, we're in the process of creating a program or an app that can take a sound file and we'll listen to the sound file and it will pull out the major sounds of the file. So that'll save time having to sit there and listen to the whole thing. And not only that, but it will it'll do a spectrograph on them. It will compare them to known animal sounds. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the works behind the scenes, but AI can do a lot that can save you time.
Yep.
Without.
Yeah, I think AI it has a lot of pluses, but it does have a lot of negatives, and we're seeing that in as far as people submitting evidence, and we're like, yeah, okay, that's AI. Especially those false narrative photos. All of a sudden, they show you a photo that looks like it was taken back in the 1920s, and I found this in my grandfather's.
To me, they're so easy to spot because what those photos lack is the degradation of a glass plate slide, which would be prior to 1900, or the film degradation you would see from 1900 onward to, like, say, the 1990s or the 2000s. when digital photography began to overtake film photography.
And AI is getting better. It's correcting its mistakes. You know, like the picture on the screen, he's got 6 toes. You see what I'm saying? And you'll find that, and you say, "Oh, that's not right because it's got 6 toes." You know, come on now. But AI is getting better. You know what I mean? Right.
And truthfully, I was in a little bit of a rush. I didn't see that, but believe it or not, with the program, I could take that toe out, so it's not even there.
Right.
Right. So there are ways around that.
And I just double checked.
For example, you're not really standing there, are you, in front of the Bigfoot?
Oh yeah, I'm there.
Oh, okay.
You didn't see me get the mosquitoes off me?
Oh yeah, I did. Yes, actually.
A few years ago, you could order off Scamazon a USB microscope that you can plug into your computer.
Yes.
And they started out around $20, and then they went up. Okay. But now they're starting out around $29.95 or $29.99, so about $30, and they go up from there. But
yeah, I would spend around the $100 mark to get a better one, a better one than some of the.
Because Grant made a good point here. It says there's plenty of sites with examples of various animal hair, and there certainly are. Good point, Grant. Thank you.
We have to first be our own citizen scientists.
Yes.
You know, that is crucial. First, we have to be the investigator. Then we have to be the citizen scientist. And then once we think, okay, we got something, then we pass it off to the real scientists. Because none of us, without that PhD behind us, unless we come in with, here it is, none of us is going to be able to prove to science that Bigfoot exists.
Well, you know, you can get a degree in cryptozoology online.
Right.
Only going to cost you a couple of grand, but
right.
Oh man, let me give some of these from earlier.
Yes.
Gary Johnson Sr. earlier, he commented, said, knowing what's really in the woods, I would never go out in the dark of night. Period. That's
I'm with
true,
you.
Gary.
I'm with you, Gary.
Amen. I agree.
Well, I mean, it depends on the area. Yeah, I'd be very trepidatious to do it alone in Florida by myself.
Safety
at night.
first.
But then again, I will reiterate, I'm not familiar with the territory. Perhaps over time I would feel comfortable doing it if I knew the territory, knew the creatures that exist in there pretty well, although I'd be very trepidatious. I have no problem going out in New York doing stuff at night. None at all. Because what do I have? Bear and maybe a moose or two once in a great while that wanders around. I've never seen, knock wood, never seen a bear in the wild yet. Never saw a moose in the wild yet while I'm on expedition. I did drive down in Wisconsin. I saw several moose in a field, and that was the extent of seeing moose in the wild for me. And I've been to places where moose are supposed to be rampant.
Mises. Oh, man. No, I don't need nothing that big around here. Grant Rosh said, if you use a cell phone camera, make sure you have it on the action sport mode. Well, Grant, I'm not sure mine does. Does iPhone have that? Or you must have a lot nicer phone than what I got.
I think another key thing is something that stabilizes the film while you're filming, and that's what I use. When I started the YouTube side of it, I was always researching. Then I said, well, you know, I'm going to do this YouTube thing because I was accumulating so much. I was basically using YouTube as a dumping ground, you know, because it's free instead of storing it everywhere, and I can always go back to it and rewatch it and stuff like that. And people would say, "Oh, dude, man, I love what you're doing, man, but I can't watch your videos because I'm getting seasick." You know, so I took that criticism back in the day, and I started purchasing things to help stabilize and do this and this and this.
Yes.
Especially with the Samsung, you know, like I said, I have the S22 Ultra. It has a built-in stabilizer. It's really amazing. It does a fantastic job. So, and like I said, you add that with 100 times zoom, it really is amazing.
Well, you know, the funny thing is that a lot of the newer devices are coming out with stabilization. Like I said, I have the GoPro 13 Black, and Chris and I were looking at a video I was doing one time while I was driving, and you can see the dashboard tilting.
Yeah. He
But
pulls off the highway into a
but the
gravel
highway
drive.
is just straight as everything, so it's compensating for that
Yep.
swivel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Larson brought
And
that up.
he's big on wearing something on your head too. So when you hear or see something, your head jerks and you can see it and stuff like that.
That
I'm
would
trying
get
to-
people seasick.
Yeah, it would. But I that was one of the first things I did was, okay, I'm going to start, making something more palatable. So I got
Right.
something that stabilizes and stuff like that. And throughout the time, I've gotten better. I put together, like a 34, it's a film. It's me. I'm hiking. I'll add some music and I'll add, some text and stuff like that, on my research channel, which is BFFG or Bigfoot Florida Guy. If I tell people all the time, if you're coming to my channel to see a Bigfoot, you're at the wrong channel. If you're coming to a channel to ride along with me while I go on this journey to try and find Sasquatch, then I am the right channel. I go out quite a bit. I spend a lot of time in the woods. And I take people along for the ride is basically what it is. Just my journey going through this rabbit hole. Sometimes I get evidence. Sometimes I get possible prints, vocalizations and stuff like that. Sometimes some structures that I really can't explain how they happened, but I never claim anything ever. I present it and I let the subscriber or the viewer come up with their own conclusion. Because I'm not here to sway anybody one way or the other. You either believe or you don't believe, or you're a knower, you're not knower. That's your journey for yourself. I'm just here getting out there because there's a lot of people that can't get out there. They don't live in areas where they can go out in the woods, or physically they just can't do it. So they can ride along with me. Let's, live vicariously through me as I go through the woods and I try to find these things. And doing that, I've had some great encounters. I've had some great things that's happened that has fueled that rabbit hole even more. You know what I mean? And I plan on doing it till I can't walk. So another week.
Well,
Yes, I know there's a lot of there's a lot of conversation about events coming up in New York. And let me explain that in August 8th and 9th, I will be at the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival. It's now going to be in the county fairgrounds in Ohio. That's August 8th and 9th. The 2 weeks after that, August, I want to say 24th, 25th. I don't have the dates in front of me, so I apologize. But 2 weekends after that will be the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure, which will be in at Benner's Meadow Campground. Then followed up will be September 27th at the Whitehall Bigfoot Festival, a huge event. And then a week after that is the New York Bigfoot Conference, October, I think, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And that'll be in Johnstown, New York. And there are, in the chat, people are putting up the addresses for all of those events.
Good deal.
The Whitehall event, totally free event for everybody. The town puts that on, puts on a real good time. Last year, I think we had like 2,600 people there. It was huge. It's been getting bigger and bigger every year. It's a great time. And if you're a squatch-D TV member and you're or just a usual fan of our show, we will be going out afterwards that night to Research Area 1, which is where I've had my experiences, where we've cast the Fort Ann cast, where we've done everything. And I know Dr. Russ Jones said night times are for experiences, daytimes are for evidence. But we cast the Fort Ann cast at night. We caught the Bigfoot whoop call at night. So it's not always about, where you're gonna find your fine detail evidence, hairs and stuff like that during the daytime, maybe trackways, etc.
Well,
but you can find evidence every time if you're that damn good.
I think that's a good point too, Steve, because you can think of it as the way I think of it anyway, is if you go out at nighttime, you're trying to determine if there's activity in the area. And once you determine that there's activity in that area, then you can go out during the daytime and look for the tracks and look for, hair samples or evidence. But,
Yeah, I'd go at it like when I used to be a deer hunter, and when you get ready for the season, you start hiking, and you're looking for things. You're looking for game trails. You're looking for scrapes, rubs, just different things that says, yes, this is a good environment. I might get a buck in this area. It's the same thing when I go out. I'm looking for certain things. I'm looking for things that says, okay, this might be a good area. Then if I find some stuff that's interesting, then the first thing I do is I'll leave an audio, just the audio, just one piece of equipment. And then I'll go back a week later, pick that up, review it. And if I get something interesting, I'm like, okay, that was pretty good. I've got some, maybe some rock clacking, maybe some possible knocking, but there was definitely a loud vocalization or something like that. Now it's giving me the little signs that I need to spend more time in there. I need to spread the perimeter a little bit more and find out what I can find and stuff like that. And I've got some areas. I've got one I really like a lot, but I'm so apprehensive going in there by myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well, safety, you gotta
and it
be
is,
safe.
and
won't do you any good to go out in the woods if you don't come back home.
Yeah, it was, because I've caught some really good stuff in that area, and I want to spend time in there. But the problem is with the area that I research is you can't camp, and you're not allowed out there after sunset.
Right.
You used to be able to, but some bad circumstances happened to a young man, and so they've kind of cut that off. You can't go out there and stuff like that. So, but there are areas that I do like to go to that I will camp out, with others, and camp out, do some night stuff, do some day stuff. Really, really promising areas, really good areas. There's areas I stay away from too. One is a green swamp. Y'all probably heard that one mentioned a lot. Swamp area.
Yeah.
And it is a great area. I'm not putting the area down. I think there's a lot of great evidence that has come out of there, but it's saturated with researchers. I mean, there's so many researchers that go out there. So I try to avoid that because I don't want to be out there and I'm a half a mile away from another group and they're whooping and hollering. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm getting some great whoops and hollers. So I do something back, which I don't. I don't make any vocalizations or anything. But if I did, they'd be like, holy crap, we got a response. You know what I mean? And so I try to avoid that. I try to avoid places.
You see the second one, Chris?
Yeah, chauffeur.
Now this one.
Blues Brothers style. We're on a mission. Yeah. Riding in vehicles is not good.
Risto had a.
Well, maybe they get you a flatbed, put a cot in the back of it.
Yeah, I can do it. But the thing of it is, guys, it would take me about a week to get there. And then I would have to have another week to get home because I can only travel a little while at a time and then I have to stop.
I'm the same way. I do not do long distance travel anymore. Not anymore.
And then you have me, neck injury and all. I don't care. I'll get in a car like Quasimodo. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, Steve,
Pardon my French.
Steve calls me on the phone from New York and says, I'll see you this evening. Okay.
Exactly.
Drive straight through. Yeah.
Drive straight through.
Yeah, I did that one time. I got home from work on a Friday, and I'm sitting there watching the news, and I was fresh out of the military, and the ship that was commissioned, that was taking the place of the ship that I was on, because my ship was very old, was pulling into port and was going to be in Virginia. I jumped in a car, ate dinner, took a shower, jumped in a car, and drove that day on Friday all the way to Virginia to see this ship. You know what I mean? Then got back on Sunday and went to work on Monday. Now, if I do that, I'm taking Monday off just to recuperate.
Well, yes. The older I've gotten, though, I've realized this. Maybe 6-7 years ago, I would finish up an event like on a Sunday, and it'd be like Sunday, late afternoon, whatever. I'd take off for home. Not anymore. Not me. No, you know what? I'm going to spend the night, I'm going to have a good meal, I'm going to get up in the morning and go, instead of trying to cram it all into one day. But, yeah, I am a long-distance driver. It's kind of funny how Bigfooting has parallels with professional wrestling, or at least the way professional wrestling used to be. There's a lot of characters. there's a lot of good guys and bad guys. There's a lot of
Yes.
there's a lot of smack talk, and there's a lot of travel involved if you want to be, if you want to get out there. There's a lot of travel involved. You cannot.
There is.
Yeah.
I traveled to Georgia year before last, and researched up in Georgia with Johnny Two Bears. He's the other host of the show.
Right, but then again, you're in the mid Florida. That's quite a drive just to get out of your state.
Oh yeah.
But I will say this: if I go west, I can get my car and drive west for 5 hours, and I'm still in New York.
No.
Right. And then I cut down Ohio, or I cut through Pennsylvania for a brief spell, cut down Ohio, then I get into Kentucky. Yeah, I drive the entire north to south of Ohio, pretty much. Pretty much from Lake Erie down to where Chris is, through Cincinnati, and then into Kentucky and over to where Chris is.
And
I don't have the exact dates yet, but I will be at Salt Fork in October. I just don't have the exact dates yet. But
I don't think they're doing one in October.
It's I don't think it's.
Oh, it's not the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. It's something.
No. This is just a research thing.
Get together. Yeah.
But it's one of those places that I've heard a lot about, and I got the opportunity to go up there, so I'll fly out there in October and spend 3-4 days and then come back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make you an offer. I know this year you're tied up, but next year you want to come out to New York, fly up for the Whitehall Sasquatch Festival. We'll head out at nighttime afterwards, and we'll hang. I make a weekend of it, so I'll be, this year. And for those who are coming in, I know people like Jen and Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks and Finding the Trackway and Mrs. Trackway. They will all be up there early for the weekend. I have Friday off this weekend, so I will be up there Friday night as well.
Nice.
To our research. And that's the way I'm going to move forward with it. I'm going to take that Friday off beforehand to make sure everybody's settled for the next night. But there's a lot of research that goes on those 3 nights everybody's there. So I'll put you in a great camping spot, too.
And with that said, too, we have every year we have the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference, which is massive, and it is they hold it at the World Equestrian Center. So it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful location. The building is massive, and you should get with Gather Up Events and talk to them about being a speaker, because they're always looking for speakers. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. This past year I did the whole thing where I stayed up there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I went to the VIP dinner and stuff like that. I've been a speaker on the Sasquatch Roundtable year before last. It's an amazing event. It's a lot of fun, a lot of like-minded people. You should try to make an attempt to come down and be a part of that. You might be one of the few.
I'll come down just for the halibut. I mean,
well, Steve,
absolutely.
Before we get very much further along here,
There
Ristel's
is a
got a
question
question
I want to get to too.
Yeah, Richard, Ristel got a question for you. I wanted to bring it up. I don't want Ristel mad at me.
Yep.
So,
no, I scrolled that exact question because we passed it a long time ago, and I stopped my screen on it because I did want to come back.
Yeah, he said, Ristel says, have you heard of any reports around Arbuckle, both lake and creek? I've talked to people that have had encounters in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Arbuckle Creek is a really good area. There's a lot of forested areas on Arbuckle Creek. I'm not far from there. I could be at Arbuckle Creek in no time flat. Matter of fact, I talked to some people that work with the wildlife management, and they're opening up areas on Arbuckle as pathways for animals to have safe passage from one area to another. So again, with Ristel, absolutely go to the Bigfoot Mapping Project and go to that area. It's like Google Earth. You just zoom in on that area and you'll see the different sightings or whatever reports that he's collected. But Arbuckle Creek is really good. Same with the Kissimmee River. There's some areas out there, especially it's private land. There's areas out there that I'm looking at that have had some vocalizations, some roadside, road crossing sightings. The only issue is the property's owned by big companies like Coca-Cola or Likes Pasco, stuff like that. Very strict about touching their property. So if I do research those areas, I'm going to get on my kayak and do it from the river. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And don't ever get caught with a Pepsi product either if you're caught on the land.
Well, I bow down to no sponsor.
Isn't it kind of odd?
What is that, an RC Cola?
Isn't it kind of odd that
Zero.
these companies come in, these big companies, big organizations, and if there's a place that has a lot of Bigfoot encounters, they buy it? I mean, isn't that kind of odd?
Dude, there's properties here that I've been driving. I'm 56. I was born and raised. I still live in the same town I was born in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll drive by these areas that have literally, in my lifespan, have never been touched. They've never been touched, but they're bob wired in. You cannot go on those properties. And I would love to get out there because nobody else is walking around out there. Nobody. And, but like I said, they own it. You can't get in it.
Thanks, Bristol.
Funny thing is the one time I decided to actually traipse over an area which was private property. It wasn't posted, but it was private property. It was the fence. I was looking for a way to cross this body of water, and this is in Texas. And I hopped this barbed wire fence, walk in a little bit, and there's this beautiful track right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's a picture somewhere floating on the internet of me by that track, kind of looking up. That's somebody was taking a picture of me looking at it.
Yeah, I've got some good footage.
Yes, sir, Grant, East Texas, correct. And it was on a piece of property that we shouldn't have been on. We shouldn't have been on there, but there was a track.
Well, you're going to look,
Well, it's like when I talk to people and they'll say, I got Sasquatch on my property or whatever, and they talk about their encounters, and I'll say, well, how big is your property? They'll say, well, it's only 5 acres. And I'm like, okay, but how much acreage of forest is around that? I mean, you own 5, but what's around it? Oh, man, it's 10, 15,000 acres around me. Well, then you have 10 or 15,000 acres. You own that, but you have 10 or 15,000 acres. Sasquatch doesn't know boundaries. He doesn't, you know what I mean? So look at the big picture. Don't look at the little picture. You know what I mean? I tell people that all the time because there are movement. They do travel. I think the ones that I'm finding prints on and stuff like that, they're not always there. But they can go 3 counties away and never be seen. Right. And so it's catching them at the right time, at the right place, and what's going on. That's why I have to go out so much because it just betters my odds. That's all it does is, I can't do it from the house. So there's a lot of times I'm laying in bed on a Saturday morning. I've had a rough week and I'm like, ugh. But then I think about that. That thought pops in my head is, look, Rick, you found enough evidence to say they're coming through there. Get your butt up. And it motivates me enough to get up, get packed, go grab my breakfast, and then head out to the woods because I'm not going to prove what I want to prove from my house. So,
right. And Ritzel says they're opening areas, but out by the bombing range, they're blocking off a lot of the access points to Lake Wales Ridge.
Yeah, and when he's talking about the Lake Wales Ridge, the state of Florida at one point when it was below ocean was like an island chain, like the Keys. Well, that's the ridge. It's like a spine that runs down the center of the state. It's higher than the rest of the state. Not a lot higher. We are the flattest state in the nation, but it's enough that there's some elevation and stuff like that. And it's heavily forested and it's protected because there are certain species that we have in Florida that only live on the ridge. They don't live anywhere else in the state of Florida. And he's right. There's a lot of places that are being closed off to us, not allowed in and stuff like that. The bombing range. He's talking about the Avon Park bombing range. I would love to get out there. But again, Are they doing bombing runs? They only open up certain sections. You know what I mean? Like we got troops that are going to be working in this area, so you guys can't be there. You know what I mean? So you're very limited. You might find a good area, and then for the next year you can't get back to it because that area is now closed off or something like that. Yeah, and that's the last thing I want to do is walk. I'm bad enough about all the animals I got to worry about, but unexplosive ordnance, tripping over something. No, I don't want to do that.
Oh no!
But I would like to go out to the bombing range. It's a huge area. It's old Florida. Matter of fact, there's a canal that's back there. That was, a lot of people don't realize this. There's a huge canal back there. That canal was actually created to split the state in half. So they were going to, back in the day, create this canal to bring military ships inland through this canal to cut across the state. It fell through. It never did get completed and stuff like that. But there's remnants of that canal out there. So,
well, that would be interesting. I didn't know that. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, there's some strange stuff out there too. There's some strange stuff. Ever get a chance, look at that on Google Earth. You're gonna find some stuff that, like, what is that? You know.
Well, when Bristol's talking about the Lake Wales area, I have a neighbor from Lake Wales, Florida. I don't know if he's talking about the city there or not. The Lake Wales Ridge.
Well, it's called the Lake Wales Ridge because it does go through Lake Wales, because Lake Wales has a tower called Bach Tower, and it's the highest point on that ridge. Is Bach Tower is the highest point on that ridge. So they got this beautiful, beautiful tower there. It's a botanical garden if you ever go to visit and stuff like that. But to Bristol, because it sounds like Bristol's another Florida boy.
Yeah.
Bristol, if you take a ruler and draw a line from Orlando straight down, and then go from Sarasota straight across, where they cross is about where I'm at. Where I live, anyways. So, give it
a lot of strangers here, too.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, Bristol. Everywhere you go.
But I tell you
this one's good, Bat Mom. Oh no! I hope we're not doing clothing critiques because I'm
wearing my
typically.
shirt.
Oh, okay, cool.
This was last year's. I came out with a new one this year that I like a lot. But last year I went with the sleeveless. Stick with the rednecks of Florida.
Bristol, I just said that he is one town north of you.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Small world after all, isn't it? Yeah.
Hey, Bristol, I was born in AP. When they had a hospital. They don't have a hospital anymore. But I was born in AP in 1969.
You know what? The way I look at it is, Tessa, we do have one thing in common. We ever see somebody wearing an Aquaman shirt, we're going to beat the living snot out of them.
Mine was the Wonder Twins.
Oh, jeez. And that stupid monkey.
Wonder Twins activate.
Do you? Yeah, I know. He's rich. Do you? Now, here's a trivia question. Screw up. Here's a trivia question. What was the name of the monkey that the Wonder Twins had? What was the name of the monkey? Does anybody remember that?
Oh man, I'm saying if anybody gets this answer, you have a lot of deep searching to do in your life.
I wouldn't have asked if I didn't know the answer. It just came to me.
I'm like, no way.
That's right. There it is. Gleek.
Gleek.
I
thought that's when you spit from underneath your tongue.
Well, it is now. Back then, it wasn't.
I think I think Batman does have a superpower. He's a billionaire. That's a superpower.
That was my favorite line in the Justice League movie was, well, you have Superman, you have Wonder Woman, and I can run fast. What's your superpower? And Batman, Bruce Wayne looks at him. I'm rich.
Yeah, that's it. That
was a great comment. And truthfully, I thought Affleck did a great job as Batman. I know people will argue that, but he did a great job with it, I think. I loved Henry Cavill as Superman. Great choice.
Yeah.
Little discouraged about the new reboot of Superman not having Henry Cavill as Superman. That's very disappointing, and it's frustrating.
Well, they got to pass the torch. We can't have Christopher Reeve. Of course, he's gone. But Christopher Reeve was a good Superman, I thought. He was young and handsome at the time.
Yep.
They needed a better script for that back then. I mean, watch it now.
In the 70s too, Steve.
70s and 80s. Yeah. I mean, you listen to it, it's very campy. I thought Man of Steel was phenomenal because people thought it was slow, but I liked the whole mental thing to it. I thought that was really a unique perspective.
It was always couldn't wait till the next Superman came out of the theater, and Kung Fu Theater on Saturdays. It was Kung Fu Theater, and if they happen to have Bruce Lee, then that was a bigger plus, But most of it was all the off-made, Kung Fu and masters and all that. But drawn to it like a magnet every single weekend when I was a kid.
Love that stuff.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. So Grant Ross says Henry Cavill is a geek, a gamer, and likes scripts to be true to the book. Very true. Henry Cavill is a gamer. He had a video on YouTube showing him his game system he was putting together. And I like the fact that people can be human. That's I think that when people can show their human side, I think that shows a humbleness in people, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, it kind of like when I talk about researchers and people talk to me and hey, do you know this person? Do you know this? And I know a lot of Florida Bigfoot researchers, and I like them all. They're all different. They all have different backgrounds. They have different ways of approaching it and everything else. But I like them all. You know what I mean? On a personal level, I like them. I may not agree with their research or agree with their evidence or something like that, but I like them as a person. They are good people. But in this community, and I use that word loosely until we create something better, it's very hostile. It's a very hostile community where, and I think it's pride. I think pride is what hurts researchers the most, where they think their evidence is better than your evidence, and and they want to get in these arguments and stuff like that, and I think what starts it is not being able to say I don't know. And so many researchers, when people come to them with a legitimate question and said, hey, what do you think about this? They have an answer. They always have an answer. Where I'm one to say, look, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I can't answer that particular question. I haven't experienced it. I don't know. But a lot of researchers won't do that. They won't say, I don't know. Their pride gets in the way, and they have to give you an answer. If it's a right answer or it's a wrong answer, they don't care. And they'll double down on that answer. Instead of correcting themselves later, they will double down on it. And that's when your integrity starts to go away.
So let me ask you this. And everybody thinks, and I've been doing this a long time. And there's one thing that I have realized about the Bigfoot community. It's just a microcosm of every other community. There is nothing unique to the Bigfoot community that is not been shared to, say, a classic car club,
right,
or an amateur radio club, or a ufology group, or a paranormal group, or there's nothing unique to it, or political group for that matter. There are people that will blow smoke and feel that they're, despite the proof being right there in front of them, they don't want to see it. There'll be people that think that their ideas are the best over everything else. There are people that will not listen. There are people that will double down, and there will be hostility. There's hostility everywhere you go. So don't think, and this is what I tell the newer people in research, they get very bumbled over it. Listen, it's just life. Accept it, move on. And that's the best we can do, because it's not going to get any better. There's going to people, we've seen a rise in the political division of the Bigfoot world, if you want to call it a political division. The argument used to be kill, no kill. Now it's a shape-shifting, portal jumping UFO knot, right? It's an undiscovered species of primate. So I don't know what do I think is the more real of the two,
Right.
But,
well, the good thing is finding people like even with you. I've spoken to you on the phone a couple of times, and I'll throw something at you, and then you'll say, "Well, let me tell you why you're wrong," or "Let me tell you why that's not right." That's what conversation's about. You know what I mean? I don't need to agree with somebody all the time to be my friend. See what I'm saying? And that's where the problem is once you disagree, boom, you're ghosted. You're cut off. Then they're going to talk about you and stuff like that.
But that's not unique to the Bigfoot world.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's true. It goes all the way back to high school. But the problem is I don't judge people on that. I judge people on their character and who they are. I don't have to agree, but it doesn't mean I like or dislike you. I've got friends in the Bigfoot community that we don't see eye to eye on a lot, but we're still good friends. We talk to each other, on a frequent basis and stuff like that. I respect the person and they respect me. But there's so many that haven't got that concept yet that, you can like somebody even though you don't agree with them. I was married. I didn't agree with anything. We lasted 7 years. So
yeah, Steve and I have known each other for years, and we don't agree on everything. And, the things that we disagree about, even though I know Steve is wrong, it doesn't strain our friendship, which,
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
You've got to be able to communicate. Yeah.
I wish I had your skills there, Steve. I don't have them. But I'm gonna be picking your mind any opportunity I get.
Now you can pick my mind all you want. You just can't pick my nose.
And that was the big thing with your show. When I started watching your show, and it's been a long time that I watch it. I can't make all the lives because of my work schedule, but I do watch the shows because when I'm at work and I got some downtime, I throw on a podcast. I usually put an earbud in while I'm doing other things and I can listen. But occasionally I do catch a live show, and I cut up with everybody else in the chat room and cut jokes and have a good time. But what people, I attract myself to people that are like-minded, and I agree with so much of your ideas, your theories, your proof. You come at it logically, and you come at it with receipts. You don't come at it with just throwing something out there and see if it sticks. See what I'm saying? And I really like that. It's the same with Johnny, who's the other host of the show. And I love Johnny to death. He's a great guy. And that's what attracted me to him a couple of years ago. Was he had put out something one day, and he's heard me say this a dozen times, but he put something out one time and he was like, this is, going over it. A week later, he comes on and he does another video saying, look, guys, I did a deeper dive and I was wrong. It's not what I thought it was. I was wrong. I'm sorry about that. He took ownership of it. He just didn't let it go out there and ride the waves and see where it goes. He corrected himself and he went out there, and that meant a lot to me as a researcher to say, here's somebody with some integrity and stuff like that. Then we got to networking and talking to each other and stuff like that. We're both veterans. He's in the Marine Corps, and he's just
so he was always hitching a ride with you.
Absolutely.
That's right.
But all around.
Stop laughing over there, Bennett. You're just a postal carrier. Air Force over there.
Air Force.
Country club. Somebody's got to do
now that we got the Air Force, the Space Force, Air Force is off the hook.
I agree. I agree.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll give you there.
You
What
know?
do they do in Space Force anyway?
I don't know. But I probably, because I'm Navy, I probably jab Coast Guard more than I do anybody else. You know,
You guys drive the bigger boats.
right? We go farther away.
That's right. Okay, Chris, it's that time.
Oh man,
How quick this went.
I hate to get off here because Richard's such a great guest.
Yeah,
He's easy to talk to and easy to listen to. But anyway, before I say hello and everything to the chat over here, Richard, I know you've got a podcast called Sasquatch Unredacted. You want to give us the times and
Sure. We do Sasquatch. That's between me and Johnny. It's a collaboration between me and him.
Yeah.
We do that on Friday nights, 7 or 8, depending on the guest himself.
Right.
We try to do it every other week, but right now we are booked where we literally this whole month we got one every single Friday. So it is, we will fit guests in if they're, they really want to be on, and we'll fill one of those free weekends, because we have the free weekends because we do our own research channels as well. And we need to free ourselves up. I also have BFFG, which is Bigfoot Florida guy. Like I said, it's one of those channels that you're not going to see Bigfoot every single time you watch my channel. It's just not one of those channels. So, look forward to people, checking that out. Again, Steve is going to be on the show this Friday. Looking forward to it. We'll call it part 2. Really looking forward to it. Very excited about it because I am a big fan of you guys, and Steve has blessed me with saying yes, he would be on the show, and I'm really psyched about that. So.
Well, we're so appreciated to have you on the show tonight, Richard. Thank you again so much. And I want to thank everybody over in the chat. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us on Sunday nights and sometimes Wednesday and Fridays. We appreciate you guys. And we got a Bigfoot movie night coming up too soon, haven't we?
Wednesday.
Wednesday will be
Really bad Bigfoot movie night.
Really
Boy,
bad
it's
Bigfoot,
really
yeah.
bad.
It's not a Bigfoot movie, but let me throw a movie at you that I thought was the worst movie of all time. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh, that was pretty bad. Yeah.
That was pretty
That
bad.
was bad.
Attack the Killer Tomatoes.
Even the sound, the music and stuff was horrible on it too.
I know.
But thank you guys for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. If you're new in the chat, and I don't know if I did see any new names or not.
We had a new name.
If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. It helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, smash that thumbs up. Give us a like. That helps us on our daily battle against the YouTube algorithm because, yeah, they got it in for us. But
Yes.
thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you. And we know we've got the greatest audience we could ever hope to have. And this whole deal is only made possible because of you and because you're hanging out with us. And thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And I got to say, when I Richard approached me to do a show, we ended up gabbing for quite a bit, and the like-mindedness was just right there. So I was like, I got to get this guy in the show.
You're too kind, because it's all about you, man. I'm telling you, I'm like way down here. You're up here, and I'm just looking up, going, "Wow."
I've just been around a little bit longer than you. That's it. But it's our pleasure, our honor to have you on tonight. And again, you're welcome on anytime you want to come on. You got something new you want to, pitch? Let us know. We'll definitely get you back on, because it was a great conversation tonight. It was a lot of fun. It moved so damn fast.
It did go fast.
And we ran actually a little bit over because of it. But anyway, folks, I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day again to all your dads out there. And I want to wish everybody a happy, safe week. We love you guys. You are the best audience in the world. And we're growing. We're growing that audience, too, to include some really great people. So that's awesome. And, folks, we'll see you all here Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the really bad Bigfoot movie night. Folks, see you all Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. YouTube.com/@squatchdtv. Remember, hit that share, like, and subscribe. Talk to you in a bit.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.